Good evening and welcome. Tonight, what's gone wrong for Liverpool? But what positives can we take from the current situation or mess, whatever you want to describe it, however you want to describe it? There's everything you need to know about Red All Over the Land's 30th anniversary night coming up in Liverpool next month with John Barnes and Peter Beardsley. And our star guest on tonight's show is the Liverpool legend, David Fairclough. Good evening, David.
Evening, Graham. John.
Good evening.
And for those who don't know, this is the YouTube version of Red All Over the Land, which is the Liverpool fanzine. It's the longest lasting and only surviving Liverpool fanzine. The creator and editor is John Pearman. Evening, John.
Good evening.
I'm going to start with you, John. David, you're going to have to wait to come on, but that seems kind of appropriate considering how you made your name at Liverpool, you know?
Yeah, call me in about 80 minutes' time.
Okay. Okay, then. John, how are things going with the fanzine?
It's been a bit of a tough start, but like against Everton, considering we're playing in, still September, still classed as a little bit of summer, and it poured down.
Yeah.
So standing outside Anfield these days, you've got no shelter. So sales were slow, so we've had to actually delay the next issue for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we'll get over that.
This is still a good issue, though. The Teenage Rampage, still a great issue.
Yeah. Somebody actually told me it was a very sweet cover, and somebody else said it was a blockbuster. I don't know what they meant, but
yeah, plenty of 70s references there for everyone.
Definitely.
All right,
Definitely.
Tell us about now 30 years as you know, the longest lasting, the only surviving. You are the greatest fanzine editor Liverpool Football Club has ever had because of that. John, tell us about the special night that's coming up in Liverpool to celebrate the 30th anniversary.
Yeah, we've gone out on a limb because we've got two players from we call them that B&B, if you like, Barnes and Beardsley, and also better than the Brazilians, which was the book that came out, reference to the team of 88, none so great, etc. And I do believe John Barnes might even do a bit of the Anfield rap. We'll find that out on the night. But we've also got a young man called Isaac Kearney, who, in his own right, is a little bit of a Liverpool legend. And we're really looking forward to having him with us and being part of the occasion.
Now, you may have seen Isaac on YouTube. He's been very involved with the club. He's like Liverpool's number one fan, and I think that's not a title you use lightly with Isaac. I've got a bit of video from him here. Do you want to set this one up? This is of him singing, John.
Yeah. This was him singing the Arne Slot song, and it's pretty good. I mean, you watch this and you'll just see how great this young man is. Over to you.
Our manager was tired, successful on the cop. He brought us number 19, his name is Jürgen Klopp. But who is his replacement? Who is it we got? He brought us number 20 and his name is Arne Slot. To the left. To the right. To the left. He brought us number 20 and his name is Arne Slot. To the left. He brought us number 20 and his name is Arne Slot. Yeah! Come on! Up at it! Champions! 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 Champions!
And Isaac will be singing on the night, John.
I understand he may even bring his guitar. So,
Oh, right, because he is a guitar player. Hello, why have I ended up on the main screen here?
I don't know. We're having some technical issues
We've
tonight.
had some shenanigans tonight. Now I'm kind of behind myself, if that makes any sense. I'm scared to push anything here to make try and fix it.
Matter.
Yeah,
It just shows it is live.
yeah, it is. It is definitely live. All right. So now, is Isaac going to be singing on the night then?
Oh, definitely. We're going to get him up to sing. Yeah, and I think he is a young lad. He comes from Kirby, so it's a pretty famous part of Liverpool for fans and former people. And why am I moving around?
I'm just trying to settle you down, John. Don't worry. Yeah.
And, I'm getting dizzy. So.
Right.
So we're really looking forward to it, and we've got a fair few things planned for the night. Can't reveal too much because I'm not sure of them all yet. But the idea is to raise money for the organisation that Isaac's part of.
It's the Wolf-Hirschhorn syndrome. The people.
Yeah.
These medical
And,
names all got funny.
He deserves our support. So all we want to do is get people to spread the word. More importantly, buy a ticket. So they're a bit expensive, but there is a buffet included, and we have got Liverpool royalty in the case of John Barnes and Peter Beardsley, and what a team that was! What a team that was! I don't know whether it was better than the team that David participated in, but it had its own little spell when it was the supreme team. Set a few records.
But as well as them, you can rub shoulders with other Liverpool legends like George Sefton, who was a ground announcer for how many years, John?
54.
54 years. As well as that, it's Andy Hodgson's doing the music. Was that Andy in that video?
I'm not. I think so. Yes.
Yeah, and it's at the White Star Hotel, which we always used to call the Streaky Bacon building on at the pier head there. That's the old White Star building now, the White Star Hotel.
That's it. Yeah.
So
the famous building for the Titanic.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that by then Liverpool haven't sunk, of course.
Yes. And where do you get the tickets, John?
From the website. They can also be purchased from Skiddle. And we're going to have a few more places up and running over the next fortnight.
Okay, so redallovertheland.com would be the easiest place to get all the information for that one. Yeah. All right, well, looking forward to that. We'll give you more details about that before the end of this broadcast. It's time now, though, to bring on our special guest. He played in the first team from 1975 to 1983. In that time, he won 4 league titles, 2 European Cups, a UEFA Cup and a European Super Cup. David Fairclough, welcome to Red All Over YouTube.
Yeah, thanks very much. Nice to be with you guys.
We should start then with the goal, the one that everyone talks about with you. It's compulsory. Let's play it. It's always worth seeing again. This is the quarter-final of the European Cup 1977 at Anfield against Saint Etienne.
It back. Mack towards Hervé Revelli. Case lobbing it forward. Header back by Lopez. And Fairclough is onside. This now could be interesting. Fairclough! Super sub strikes again.
Super sub, that's what you were known as. Did that title ever become bothersome for you, David?
Well, I think in my early days, I was getting a little bit sort of frustrated that I was seen as maybe somebody who could only play in small parts of the game, the latter stages. So that in those early times, I was beginning to get a bit frustrated. I wanted to be seen as being more of a player, more involved. But obviously, the club has such a huge history, so many great names down the years, plenty of people to remember. I think if you remembered in any way, then you're fortunate, blessed. And the Super Sub tag has stayed with me, and I mean, I hear it every day, so I've had to get used to it. And I'm flattered. I'm very genuinely flattered. I was in a hospital yesterday, and straight away people sort of say, it's not Dave Fairclough. Say, it's Super Sub, and there you go. And it's followed me. I'm very grateful of it now.
Now, John, you're convinced that David's best performance as in the Super Sub role that he was in was not the San Etienne goal, aren't you, John?
Yeah, because I think David scored what is, I still believe, is one of the greatest derby winners of all time. And there's a little bit of a story about behind it that David can share with us. But he, in my eyes, it's not just the fact that he scored this derby winner, but on this day, it was the Grand National. So David actually managed to get the headlines and the front of the Echo because the game was played in the morning. And he got on the back page of the Echo as well because that's when they covered the Grand National. It got Davis gets something along the lines of Davy gets the winner, Davy's double or something like that. So it was a big day for them because I can't remember if it was 11 o'clock kickoff, but I know it had to finish by 12:30 to get so everybody could get off to the races, and that's what some of the fans would have done then.
Yeah, let's have a quick look at that goal so you can see what John's talking about here.
And the draw here is a result that would please the other challengers for the championship, but look at this from Fairclough. Still going. Oh, goal!
More, but 5 will do.
Yeah,
I thought you beat some of them twice. So two of the people in the what's now the Kenny stand, the old Kemlin, you left some of them standing. Yeah,
it was it's a great memory. Obviously, being brought up as a Liverpool lad, and the Liverpool Everton rivalry was massive in the '60s. So to the ambition to play for Liverpool was enormous, but to think that he could play in a derby and be the match winner, I mean, it's probably more than you could ever dream for. So, yeah, it was brilliant. I think, as I say, because of the time that I sort of grew up following Liverpool, it was such a huge thing to score a winner in a derby match. So I've done it, and Evertonians still pull me up about it now.
The thing is, you scored it with about 2 minutes to go, and you, I believe, you told me that you were running back to the halfway line, thinking, "I'm going to get the Echo headlines."
That's it.
And then then Liverpool get a penalty.
Yeah, that's right. When you score it's so late in the game like that, you think, well, that's it now. That's the winner, and just trying to soak it all in. And I remember glancing up at the crowd and seeing the cop going berserk. And he thought, well, I'll grab the headlines tomorrow, because I was after we mentioned the Super Sub thing. At that stage in my career, it was a case of trying to make a point, and obviously stealing the headlines was a big part of that. Something, now I've scored the winner of the derby. It's going to be about me. I was only 18 years old, so I think at 18 you're allowed to think like that. Yes. But then we got a penalty, amazingly. Now, on most days you'd be delighted to get a penalty in the last minute, but this was threatening to ruin the moment for me. So for a momentary passage of time, I was an Evertonian. I was hoping Phil Neal would miss it, and thankfully he did. So it's kind of gone down a little bit better, being 1-0. So grateful. It's a huge memory for me. A huge memory.
And you grew up near the ground, didn't you?
Yeah, just a few. Yeah, matter of hundreds of yards away from Anfield. If anybody knows Beacon Lane, still part of Beacon Lane still stands, but I was on the other side of Beacon Lane, which was, I say it was we could sit and we're in that sort of environment where you could be sitting in your living room and you could hear Liverpool singing. It was we were very much a part of the football traffic. Match days around here where I lived, I mean, whether it was Liverpool or Everton was a huge day. People flying up and down the street, to the match, not in cars. It was a great area to grow up in, Everton, I have to say.
And John, you mentioned you've got a question for David about half time, how things have changed in football a little.
Yeah, something I get. I don't know what made me think of it, but I must have been bored. And I was thinking now, half time, it's allegedly 15 minutes, but I've noticed sometimes that can stretch almost to 20. And I do now. I can remember Jurgen saying that they showed some videos at half time about this, that, tell players what they'd done wrong or done right even. And it made me think back to the days when you got 10 minutes. Basically, you go in. I mean, I don't know what they get to drink these days. I don't think they get the cup of coffee and an orange or a lemon suck on, or like Graham just had one there. So I just thought, what was half time like in your day?
Yeah, hectic, really. I mean, as you say, John, I mean, a lot of people would forget that it was 10 minutes and not a great deal of time to do anything much, really. Come in, tea would be poured. It was just tea then, no water even. So there were like cups of tea on the table. You would come in. The new shirts were already out for you. And we always change shirts. Occasionally, if there were shorts available for some who spent a lot of time sort of slide tackling and what have. But it was literally just time to change a shirt, have a mouthful of tea, turn around and back down the passageway. So they go on about the game. Well, obviously the game has changed; it's faster and everything, but players in our day, no sooner had your break, no sooner had you finished, you get a little break and then you're back into the action again. So, but it was fantastic. Wouldn't change it. And I don't think I've spoken to an ex-player of our time that actually would prefer to play now than then. I think we all thoroughly appreciated the era that we were fortunate to be in.
You mentioned going out in clean shirts and always changing the shirts at half time. It reminds me, one of the first games I ever went to when I was 3 or 4 years old, and it was a particularly muddy day. And second half, Liverpool came out all in a clean strip, and I went, all the strips are all clean. And the fella in front of me turned around to me and he said, "Yeah, they put them through a washing machine at half time, and they wash and dry them, and they run out." And I believed him at that age. I thought that was what was going on, that they were washing the strips at half time.
Yeah, I mean, different time. I can tell stories about the kit that we wore for training throughout the week, which was never cleaned between Monday and Friday. So if you went in mud on Monday morning, then that kit was dried. That's all. But I mean, you wore it on Friday. It got changed on Friday. But I remember playing against. We played Everton in the semi-final at Main Road, and I went on a run similar to the one the goal that you showed before, and the ball. I mean, anybody that was at the game will remember the torrential downpour that sort of happened just before kick-off time. So the pitch was half a bog, really. There wasn't much grass on there, and the ball stops in the water as I'm about to shoot. So I ended up playing with I was soaking wet at the first minute of of that game, and that was always something that, I don't know. It's popped up on the odd little bit of film footage. I'm covered in. First minute. We just got on with it. These days, players don't play in mud, do they? I mean,
No. They
John?
could go off now. They could go off now at half time, and the kit's still pristine. Some of them don't even get dirty. It's
Don't even
yeah,
sweat.
Yeah.
No.
no. It's
We've
Every
got
time
I had
we
this.
went.
I had this. Sorry.
Sorry, people go on about hygiene. I say about the training kit. I mean, you had fresh kit on a Monday morning, and then the next time you had fresh kit on was the following Monday morning. So I mean, like, but by Thursday, Friday, even in the middle of the week, your socks would stand up on their own. They were that stiff. But we lived through it. We didn't die. All this. You can talk about hygiene and all these type of things. We all survived. It wasn't.
I mean, this was at local level. I mean, I can remember going into our changing rooms at half time, and the lads would sit down there and said, "Whose crash is it?" Meaning, who's got a fag? And my brother used to go into the referee's room. He used to take him a cup of coffee, and what do you smoke? Park Drive, Woodbine, and that was it. That was how you went on at half. I don't know whether any of the lads smoked at half time when you were playing, but I can imagine one or two might have done.
No, there were stories of players in the 60s who were notorious smokers, and I think in the 70s, Duncan Mackenzie was a known sort of smoker. But I never saw a Liverpool player smoke, in all honesty, and all the time I was there. It wasn't one of the sins of the players that I was around. So that's
Joe Fagan might have had a couple.
Joe did. Joe was really without a cigarette in his mouth. No, he did like a fag Joe, as they say.
I can't remember I think it might have been at the end of the 1984 season, and they interviewed him after Notts County's game, and they're on the pitch, and because there was fans all around him, because Notts County's ground wasn't exactly even then up to date, and he's sitting there, and the commentator, that was Joe, so.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember in an interview there at Notts County, he spoke very wise words, Joe. I mean, he was a simple man in many ways. In his outlook, he didn't try and make the game complicated in any way. And when he put his messages out there, they were always very clear and to the point. So. But he was a very ordinary bloke, was Joe Fagan, and probably not many people would have had him marked down as being able to manage a team, but he did it in his own mercurial way.
Yeah. We've got Lee Wiskid. There are people watching all over the world, and if you'd like to ask a question, if there's time, we'll get the question to David Fairclough. Lee Wiskid, he says, "May I ask David, what is your opinion of us having 5 subs these days?"
Well, I had a little thing on radio. I'm not sure. I think it was yesterday afternoon, and they people sort of saying we should go back to the fact of having 1 sub the way that it was. And a lot of people who go into football now don't even remember the one sub sort of situation. I mean, because there were 2 subs introduced. I think it was in the 80s, wasn't it? 2 subs were introduced. I mean, it won't be long before maybe there are, I don't know, 8 or 10 allowed change. It'll be like American football. I can see that's certainly the way it's going. But I think it's it wastes an awful lot of time these days. All this, the substitutions. The fact that it's crept up to 5, I think, is. I think it's a bit of a nonsense, and I think, I would prefer to. I think it might be fair on teams if it was only 1, maybe.
One.
But,
yeah.
Must admit, I think the way teams have to cope with, if in our day, obviously, if you lost a defender and you had an attacker on the bench, well, the team had to sort of rejig, had to be rejigged and what have you. These days, I mean, teams are not weakened by any. Like last week, Chelsea lost 2 centre halves. I mean, how would they have coped if they had 1 sub, or for example? And the players sort of take the easy way out now. They come off a little bit more they're more inclined to accept the offer to come off than stay on. If you only had 1 substitute, I think there'd be a lot more peril and what have you. I wouldn't mind going back to those days. I'll be honest. Make football a bit more interesting.
Just another question then on that very subject. Nowadays, when you see a player coming on, the manager's going like, the coach giving this thing. I think he's showing him his holiday snaps or what. We've got this. They're going like this, and I just thought back to your day when it was sort of you weren't running up and down, going to have 5 minutes warm up. It's oi, get up, you're on, and that's how it seemed to me. You know, and
yeah, most of the time. I mean, there were a couple of different in a lot of away games. Bob Paisley would have sat on the bench, not always up in the stand. A lot of games at Anfield, he spent time up in the stand. Then he would come down and he'd say, I think we might just have a bit of a change in one thing or another. At that point, he'd say to the substitute, go and have a run up and down the line, sort of, have a stretch. But then they were considering a substitution. There were a number of things that maybe a little bit too long-winded to explain, but you knew sometimes when I've got no chance of going on it in this situation, but on other occasions when Bob Paisley came down and had this conflab with or didn't have a conflab, he made his mind up. He'd say get Davy on, or sometimes he might have a little discussion with Joe and Ronnie. That was always a bad sign because you're thinking now 3 of them have got to decide in the positive. It was better the manager comes on and says, get Dave on. So they said, okay, go and run up down the line a couple of times, and it gave them time then to find the number that they were gonna change.
And did they give you any specific instructions back then when you went on? Because as John was saying, they show them like an iPad now, and I don't know what they're showing them. Were you given any specific instructions when you went on as a sub in situations like the Everton game and St Etienne?
No, I think the only one game I remember when there was something really specific was when we played Vitesse Lodz in the European Cup at Anfield, and he told me to go on and play down the right wing and just get crosses in. But I don't know if anyone remembers the game. We were in danger of going out. We did go out eventually, but we were chasing a couple of goals, and it was just a case of, he said, get at this fullback and get crosses in, and that's all. Normally, it was a case of get on there and just go and try and get a piece of the action. And
it was that vague. It was just get amongst them.
Yeah, without any, never any, you're marking him at this situation, or you're doing this or doing that. So it was just a case of get on there, go and have a float around the front, go and see if you can get in a piece of the action. Yeah, it was. I mean, Liverpool's ideal in the old days. It was a case of as long as we played. I mean, there was no plans laid out for other teams. It wasn't a case of they weren't fearful of whoever. There was no plans laid out. I mean, it was about tell them you've got 11 players and go and play. You're here, and you're here for a reason. Go and show us what what you're capable of doing. There's the old Souness story, isn't it, where Suey on his debut and he says to Joe Fagan, Joe, nobody's turned around and said to me, what I've got to do and this and that. And Joe says to him, we haven't paid all this money for you, son, to tell you how to play. Just go out. And that was very true. I was there. I was only probably about a yard away from Graham as you had a conversation. But that was it. Liverpool did things very, very, basically keep it simple. And if we played well, then there was nothing down for anybody else.
It always seemed that those teams, the teams you played in, were a very bonded team. And that must have been something that was going on and off the pitch. Are there any particular pranks or moments in the dressing room that you can remember that were kind of team bonding moments?
Too many probably to mention, Graham, really. But I mean, there was a great bond there. I mean, the team I initially came into with, headed by Emlyn Hughes and Tommy Smith, Callie. They were very much the senior men. Toshak and Clem. Clem was a feature there for almost all the time I was in the first team. They were huge characters, and everybody quite just bounced off each other all around the dressing room. Nobody was a clear leader as such, but there was a lot of there was a lot of jokes, a lot of banter, and and warmth, and a lot of the lads sort of commuted in with each other. Certainly when they were travelling away, you had a few of the boys who lived out in Formby Way. You had a few lads who lived on the Wirral. It was just a natural thing, and then obviously as there was some changeovers. It was almost seamless. You had people like Graham arriving, and Kenny, and Big Al, and and it was all like they just fell into the way Liverpool was run. They learnt their lessons from. Tommy Smith. I think Tommy Smith was still there after Emlyn Hughes, and Smitty was like at that point then. And once Emlyn moved off, Smitty was very much the loudest voice in the dressing room. I think a lot of people picked up their what Liverpool was all about from Tommy Smith, and Cali was like this quiet figure, but everything that he did, I think people took lessons from.
Yeah. There was a time though when Sammy Lee ended up in an overhead bin on a plane though once, wasn't there?
Well, yeah, things like that. We still laugh about that. That was on a that was a break to Sudan of all places. The boy, when you have a late night, well, if you have a stay over in London and you're then catching the plane out to Africa on a Sunday morning, the boys have had a bit of a night out, and it was sort of the fact that it was only a friendly, the managers, well, they never really sort of put you under kind of lock and key, let's say, you know what I mean? Put, curfews on and all that type of thing. Just expect the lads to respect, the situation we were in. But a night out in London was often quite heavy. And then the next morning we're off to Sudan. A few of the boys went far away from sort of like being topped up, with a couple of beers, and Sammy ended up in the overhead luggage.
Well, I say he probably fitted.
Yeah,
he did, no problem. He wouldn't fit in. I have to say, nobody could lift him either. To be honest, those days he was.
And looking back, David, is there a single moment that made you think this is why I love playing for Liverpool?
No, not a single moment. Thoroughly, I was very, very fortunate to as I come through the ranks, live out my dream. And for most of the time, it was thrilling all the way. Great times. I think when you leave, I left and I ultimately went to Switzerland. And I remember being in Switzerland one morning and thinking, gosh, how I could be, wish I'd be back in Liverpool just playing five-a-sides, because I go into somewhere like I went to Lucerne, and everything was very technical and a lot of tactical sort of sessions. Whereas Liverpool, it was all about playing five-a-sides, having a bit of fun, and it got a little. It could, and the lads, will remember. It got a bit tedious at times, because it was the same old, same old. We didn't do sessions like you're led to believe happen now. You know what I mean? Going through systems and, telling players where they need to be going when such a thing happens by the opposition. It was about playing, and when we just played lots and lots of five-a-side. Yeah. So it was a thrill from pretty much from start to end. I was ready to leave when I left. I'll be honest. I was a bit frustrated in that sort of 82-83 season. So I left, but I could look back and turn around and say I regretted it, but not completely. It was an incredible opportunity for me to go away and try something new.
And you were the star guest at the last Red All Over the Land night at the Reds Bar in Liverpool. How did that go? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, very much enjoyed it. It was a nice atmosphere. It wasn't overcrowded, and people went sort of, people sort of sat down and sort of tried to enjoy the night. I think it was a very relaxed atmosphere. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great. Nice interview. Talked about a few things that perhaps, a lot of people mightn't have heard of before, a bit more about my growing up and the path to getting to Anfield. So, in terms of, in a plain sense. So it was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, you enjoyed it too, didn't you, John? In fact, you were telling me the money you raised on the night, you and David, you got together to deliver the check. That must have been a special time as well.
Yes, and we went to a place near Southport, Ainsdale, and we went to Mayfield School. And I will say now, I was very humble when I was there. They made no fuss. They didn't try to make a big thing that we were there or anything like that. But you met these young people, and they were absolutely wonderful. It really is something that made you feel, well, this is why we do these events, you know. And I was speaking to somebody this morning, and I said, we want to do more for that very school. We want to do another event very soon, possibly in the new year. Get some other players, get some players involved. And I will say now, I'm going to call on David for his help, because football fans like we are, we're lucky. We can see so much. Other people don't have the same opportunities as we do. So when you go and you see these young lads and girls, and not just those, the staff as well, you have to remember them. And what every single person at that, I think it was called the assembly, wasn't it, David? And every single person there had a smile on the face. And one young man, he actually got me up to join in a song. Well, thankfully I didn't sing, but we were clapping our hands and all the rest of it. He did want me to get down on the floor and do some dancing. Well, that was it. No, I can't do that. I could have done, but I wanted to got back up. And yeah, and it was a privilege to meet David's grandson as well. So it was really, really tremendous. And you see that and you think, well, this is why we do it.
Yeah, I mean, when John initially asked me if I'd be available to speak, and I said, "Yeah, I'm happy to do it." I said, "If at some point in the evening, we could raise some, maybe into the raffle or something, then something could go towards Mayfield School. I'd be delighted to do the event." And in the end, we probably, well, certainly we surpassed what I thought we might have made on the evening. So I was really thrilled that John was. Was so generous in that, and actually offered to visit to the school. The school is very special to me because my grandson is there, who is special needs. But to go there, I go there every week to the school, and it is very humbling. And people talk about situations that they're in, stressed out, and all this type of thing. Just going to Mayfield School sort of brings it down to that's what life's all about, And the fact that John was happy to contribute, and the supporters obviously who came along on the evening was very, was great for me and my daughter, who she and I have got involved in recent times in sort of trying to do some things and help the situation that they have there, because it is a special place, very special place. And
it must be a nice part of being an ex-Liverpool player and a legendary player as well. We've talked about the goals. It must be nice to be able to. That must be a nice part of what you do now. Is getting out and meeting people and helping people and seeing what they're up to.
Yeah, I think when you play, there are times in this season, the likes of visits to Alder Hay and other places, Zoe's place, and things that are arranged by the club, and sometimes. You can't sort of have that distraction constantly because you're working through the season. But certainly since I've retired, I've become very close to a number of charities, and it's very enjoyable. Yeah, I do enjoy getting out there and sort of helping where I can. I have a very close affiliation to the Walton Centre in Liverpool there. I've been affiliated with them for quite, for 12 years now, 12, 13 years. But there are a number of other charities that I'm actively sort of helping, and they become very close to your heart, as Mayfield has. And as I say, can't be grateful enough to John to get behind it and help very recently, just 2 weeks ago.
All right. Well, let's.
The other
Sorry,
thing
John.
about it was you go there, you meet the school, the teachers, if this called the teachers, and that. But it's not it's all about the people there, the whole system, they need our support because it's a charity. They're not getting money thrown at them by whoever, and you just go there. And I just thought, well, let's do it again. What's it cost me time, and that's I can do that. So we're going to do it again. I'm going to look at trying to get somebody along and do it. And there's another things like a bit disappointed with the way Liverpool dealt with the passing of Joey Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, they finally did get round to having a minute's silence or the round of applause and that. But Joey Jones was the famed clenched fist and the tattoo.
The most famous banner.
A little bit off limits, if you like, in the way he was one of the first cult heroes. Tommy Smith was a bit of a cult hero, but Joey Jones was quiet, only there for a few years, but he gave so much. He probably gave more in his 3 years than some of the players that we've had since have done in their whole career. He gave so much to that club, to the cop. That they loved him and he loved them. And as we said in the last show, Graham, the most famous banner in football is dedicated to Joey Jones.
Yeah.
They were, I have to say, I thought they were a little bit slow in showing their appreciation. I was close to Joey. I visited him in his last weeks of being in hospital, and so I was. It was hugely emotional, Joey's passing, and as I say, I think he deserved a little bit more of a sooner sort of show of.
Yeah, I think they could have turned around to the cop and say, "You sort it out." Let the cop do whatever they wanted, because the ground now is filled with people who probably don't even know who Joey Jones is or Joe Jones was. But there's a lot of people on the cop who would have probably just done the clenched fist, and they'd have known who Joey Jones. They knew, and you actually told a story on the night, I think, at the Reds bar about he could throw his voice, couldn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was very much one of the jokers. I mean, whilst there was a lot of humour all throughout the group, two or three were a little bit more sort of at the forefront of the laughter, and Joey was one of those alongside Terry Mack, and Joey would often be entertaining the boys in those moments, and you're sitting in the dressing room in those days. I mean, you didn't get out on the pitch for half an hour to warm up. I mean, you spent an hour in the dressing room, sort of just sort of sort of gearing up to the match, and Joey would be sort of imitate, he'd be sort of like throwing his voice as if he was in the kit box and sort of let me out and all that, and he was always up to something. Joey Jones, he was a huge part of the teams that he played in those 3 years or so that he was front, starting left back. He was amazing. He was fantastic.
All right, well, let's bring it up to date. What's going wrong right now for Liverpool? 3 defeats in a week. And we've spent like £500 million on the players. And £500 million, I think it is. Yeah. And, what's going on?
Well, I'm tempted to say that I think in the past, and you don't want to live in the past, certainly, but I think the way that Liverpool integrated players into the systems, I think was a help to players. I mean, you think, just go back to Terry McDermott. Terry McDermott probably played the best part of a year in the reserves when he initially came down from Newcastle. He was in the first team and he was out the first team, and that happened to an awful lot of players. That they went just thrust into the starting lineup. I know Kenny was, and that works. I mean, the way it will work with Isak, I'm sure, but I think in one or two positions, sometimes I think it's worthwhile being just sort of slow to be introduced into the system.
Are we talking Wirtz here?
Well, I mean, I think at the moment, I think I'm thinking more the fullback positions, really. I think if you got a settled back line, I think then you can begin to sort of kind of build forward a little bit. I mean, Vert, I think I have no doubt. At the end of the day, Vert is only 22 still. At the end of the day, he's going to be. I think he's going to be a great player. I'd be very surprised, more than surprised if he wasn't to be. But I think the system is it's sort of they just seem to be clutching it. So it doesn't seem to be that same unit that seemed to be there right from the off last season. Liverpool were very strong early doors. I felt last year, and now we look as if we're far too open and players getting caught in between sort of positions.
John?
Yeah, I because of the way I've seen football throughout my life, we've got two players now who we paid a lot of money for, two goal scorers and that. And people are saying you can't play them both in the same team. And I think, did Shankly ever think about that? Roger Hunt and Ian St. John and players like that. We can't play. Why can't you play these players? I mean, you paid £200 million for them, for Hugo and Alexander, and you've got to think, well, if these can play together and things like that. The defence, I agree with David. It needs sorting because we've been conceding this 2 goals a game for a long, long time. Not just this season. Towards the end of last season, we were letting in goals, quite a lot of goals. All right,
with up until his injury, one of the best players goalkeepers in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, injuries happen. They didn't in the old days. Because I mean, Clem never got injured. Neither did Tommy Lawrence. If you were his understudy, you grew old. But that was football then. Today they're playing 2 games a week. Sometimes you're playing 3 games in 7 days, 3 games in 8 days, and they're saying, "Oh, the players can't do it." But I went to the Southampton game and I thought the problems there in that team that night, it was like watching strangers. And Arnie was correct when he said it's a new team, but you wonder why. But I've also got a feeling, and don't want to be morbid or anything like that, but Liverpool lost a lot of time in pre-season because of the sad death to Diogo. And and I think that's still affecting them in some way because they didn't just lose a player; they lost a friend, a teammate, a workmate. However, but so we lost a lot of time, and I think had that accident not happened, I think we would have signed the centre half from Crystal Palace. I think that would have happened there and then. It wouldn't have been waiting until the same with Isaac. That would have happened. It wouldn't have been waiting for Newcastle to do what they did, which was very childish, in my opinion. Those things would have all been sorted out, and the team would have gone to Japan and Hong Kong, wasn't it? They would have gone there as a unit, knowing what was happening. But I was watching that game against Southampton, and very early in the game, maybe less than a minute, Southampton hit the ball forward, and young Giovanni Leone, if that's how you pronounce his name, he headed this ball down. And I said to the person next to me, Alan Hansen, and that was after like 30 seconds. And then at the end of the game, he goes and gets injured.
Right,
We've lost him for possibly, could be up to 2 years. He's 17. How that young man must be feeling. He's in a foreign country, and now, he's not going to be playing till 2027, they say. So things like that.
I mean, that is it was cruel. I mean, I'm just wondering whether Leone actually got injured when he goes on the AstroTurf that surrounds the pitch, and I thought to myself, that seemed to occur when he goes sliding off the pitch because it happened in such a strange fashion. It's a big blow, that, because as you say, I mean, And I think we've been used to that. I think we can see players, almost automatically. You think, so these guys are going to, such and such is going to have a career at Liverpool. You can see it right from the off, and he did show immediately. Look like he's got something that we're going to like. It was so unfortunate. It's really, really unfortunate. On the back end of that, I think we got a couple of players who aren't playing well, and yeah, I think it's hard to make it. I certainly wouldn't personally. I wouldn't make excuses for people not playing well. Ultimately, you got to work your way out of it. But we've got a couple of players who are not offering enough at the moment as well. So a number of things. Thankfully, I'm not paid to sort out the problems, but. I'm sure they'll do it. And I mean, at the end of the day, with the beginning of October, I mean, I'd be much more worried if it was February, March time. I think we'll, I do think that we will see a recovery, if that's what you want to call it. But certainly an upturn in fortunes.
John, positives?
I looked at the fixtures back in June when they came out. I think I was still on holiday. And I looked at them first 5 fixtures and I thought, that's tough. Newcastle away, Arsenal home, the derby. You didn't want these in your first 5 games. You like to get your season going. But we came out of them first 5 games with 15 points. Then we go to Crystal Palace and they did to us what we'd been doing to others. And then, lo and behold, Chelsea do it as well.
Chelsea was always going to be a hard one, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they're all hard, and this thing that I think Arne himself said that in the Dutch league you can look at teams and think, we're going to beat them. In the Premier League, you can't do that. You have to every game. It doesn't matter who you're playing. Every game can be the banana skin. Every game you play, because that's how teams are. I mean, you look at a team that's struggling at this moment is West Ham. Look at the players they've got. They've got good quality players there. And the same at Wolves. They've got quality players. They've not won a game. So it can happen. I mean,
so are you worried about the next one then? United at Anfield, 16th of October, John.
You worry about I worry about every game. Look, when we played Accrington Stanley in the FA Cup, I was worried. That's how I am. That's my mental problem. I view every game as a danger, no matter who you're playing. I mean, I've known us to go away in Europe and win by 4 or 5, and you got the second leg, and I'm hoping we don't concede. But that's it. No, I don't worry about Manchester United. They've got their own problem. They won on Saturday, was it? And all of a sudden, their problems are over.
Is that what it would take for us, though, David? Do you think that if Liverpool beat Man United, will we forget about this dip?
No, but I think. As John points out, you look at the fixture list at the outset, and you did think, well, there is a tough start. You expect Liverpool maybe to drop a couple of points somewhere along the line. So to have started off the way we did, I think we were, maybe rode our luck a little bit in ways. Unfortunate to lose goals the way we have in the last minutes of 2 games now. That's the thing that's really evident in football at the moment. The amount of goals that are scored in 93s, 95 minutes and what have you. And that goes to sort of to show that you can't underestimate anybody. Potentially on paper, Palace and Chelsea were tricky games. To have come out if we'd have come out with 2 draws, I think that wouldn't have been the worst outcome actually. But as it is, we've nothing to show for it. To beat United wouldn't be the end of the problem, but it would be a sort of you'd like to see signs of this is where the comes about, and we then sort of go again on an upward curve. United's biggest games of the season, the other 2 games against us, and remember what they did last season? They were absolutely rubbish before and after they played us, but So you can't underestimate a Manchester United fixture. Looking forward to it, I have to say, and I'm sure that the players would be as well. After losing the games that they have, that they'll be hoping to correct the balance and get into back to winning ways.
I think that one day the team will click, and the manager will know what his best starting 11 is. At this very moment, there's I don't know how many, several million people that could tell Arnie how to sort it all out. But unfortunately, or fortunately, he's the only one that's paid to do it.
Yeah.
And that's it. He sees these players every day when they're in training. He knows who's doing what. I was one of those people who was very, I'm not saying upset, but disappointed when we lost Harvey Elliott. He can't get in the Villa team. So that's telling you something. He's not getting in the Villa team.
I pointed that Diaz left. I have to say I was a Diaz fan, and I think the situation that we're in, I think he would help. He would have helped a lot in the current sort of, when you see one or two of our miscomings at the moment. I think Diaz was a very unselfish player for me. Did an awful lot of work. The position that the club found themselves in, and also Diaz, unfortunately for me, I think he let his contract run down too late. But he's a big miss, and I think he would be ideal at this position. I think he could do a huge job on the left hand side.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at the time now, and I said to David Fairclough before we started, we'll probably go for about 3/4 of an hour. We've been going for over an hour, so I think we should wrap it up there and say, David Fairclough, thank you so much for being our very special guest. It's been terrific to talk to you. John Pearman, the 15th of November, tickets are on sale now. Just quickly tell us, remind us of the night. Yeah. 30th anniversary of the longest lasting and the only surviving Liverpool fanzine, read all over the land.
Yeah, and I've actually been told by somebody that I'm the oldest editor around. So okay. I don't know whether that's an honour or not. But anyway, I'm supposed to be the oldest editor that's left. But I just want to say thank you for David for coming along. And I've got quite friendly with David over the last few months. And I hope that we can work together in the new year for Nearfield, and hopefully, raise some more funds for them. That's the idea. The fanzine can do that. We're not looking for any pats on the back or anything like that. But the fanzine can do that. We can go out and help these people, and that's what it's all about. And you, Graham, you've been part of some of the fundraising activities. It's also fun.
It is. I'll be there on the 15th. Looking forward to it. I couldn't make it to the last one, so for personal reasons. But the next one I am really looking forward to. It'll be great. And it's a shame I missed the David Fairclough one, but I'm sure we'll bump into each other at some other stage, David.
Look forward to it, Graham. Yeah. Sorry to have rambled on, but enjoyed it very much. Thanks very much for inviting me.
It's not rambled on at all.
Nobody rambles on more than me, David.
All right. Until next time, thank you very much. And remember, you'll never walk